Cosmonaut made a video on Buffy. I like Buffy. I watched the video, and now I want to talk about it in great detail.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a good show.
I agree. While spotty at times, it has wonderful characters and a fair few bold narrative choices, constructing dramatic moments while injecting levity to help make the heavy moments palatable.
Now, this shouldn't be a very surprising opinion, but if you were born after the year 2000, you might not be aware of just how great Buffy the Vampire Slayer is.
I suppose this is Cosmo setting the stage. Buffy is indeed great, as many fans of the show are no doubt aware, and one does not need to have been born at the time to appreciate it was great. I was born long after Citizen Kane, Star Wars, Superman and Batman, yet they are all well appreciated. Or is he talking about the popularity of the show? I was a little man and I was aware of the popularity at the time, while it still has a thriving fan base.
Every once in a while I talk about Buffy in a video or a tweet and I get a shocking amount of people saying, wait, is this show actually good? I thought this was just a CW vampire drama.
Understandable, as it was what I thought until I watched Buffy and Angel. I recognize not everyone is as direct as I am when it comes to getting to the point of a video, but what does the cultural impact of the show have to do with the topic of the video? That being the worst TV character of all time.
You gotta understand, before it was called the CW, it was WB. And WB was Buffy's channel. In the same way that the CW is now known for Riverdale-style shows.
I was under the impression the CW was most well known for abject financial failure. Regardless, is any of this information really all that important to this particular video?
Late night WB was centered around teen dramas. Some people were into Smallville or Charmed, but the fact is that all of these shows started because of Buffy. And don't get me wrong, this show is raw.
I'll take his word for how impactful Buffy was, but what did he mean by raw? Is it how emotional it is? How rough the characters are treated? Violence? Or a Gen Z Americanism that I'm never going to understand, such as lit or peak fire, yo.
I think that watching Buffy is very similar to reading a long-running superhero comic, which is funny because the show is partially based on the Chris Claremont X-Men run from the 70s.
Considering the pop culture and comic references in the show, it would not be too much of a stretch for this to be true. If such a reference is out there from Whedon or people who worked on the show, I was unable to find it.
It's about half monster of the week and half overarching plots that at times take years to develop and grow. The character writing in this show is phenomenal, with the core cast containing some of my favorite character arcs in all of fiction.
This is an accurate description of the structure of the show and the episodes. Also, Cosmo making it known these are some of his favorite arcs in all fiction is fine. Like what you like, and dislike what you dislike.
It has insane twists that are legitimately shocking without being cheap, letting the show constantly keep you on your toes without getting stale. And most surprisingly, it's actually funny.
Do you know where there are babies?
What do you think, the hospital?
What does he mean by actually funny? Was he not expecting it to be funny but upon watching it found it funny? Or that unlike similar shows, Buffy is funny? Or perhaps Buffy is not as well known for its comedy and so was surprised to find it has a lot of it? When using actually, it is under the assumption that you were expecting something and your opinion ended up contrary to it. What does actually refer to here? Minor point, but language is important.
Countless shows have been born from the shadow of Buffy. We probably wouldn't have the MCU if it wasn't for Buffy. Hell, TVTropes.org was initially created by Buffy fans to categorize tropes from Buffy. Buffy was a big fucking deal back in the early 2000s. It was the show. It was such a big deal that when Sarah Michelle Gellar was put in the Scooby-Doo movies, they just turned Daphne into Buffy. Because we can't have Buffy in the movie without her doing Buffy stuff. You guys should start taking a shot every time I say Buffy in this video, because it's gonna be a lot of times.
Considering the first two phases of the MCU were shaped greatly by the writing of Joss Whedon, this is understandable. It is also neat to know about the trivia related to the origins of TV tropes. I am interested to see how this information will play into why Xander is the worst TV character of all time.
And despite how iconic and influential the show is, it took me a while to actually sit down and watch it. As someone born in the early 90s, I was always exposed to this show.
Cosmo being as old as I am is a sobering thought. Regardless, it wasn't until my late 20s when I first watched Buffy and Angel 2. But again, relevance.
And I'd seen a few episodes here and there, but in my mind, that was the show that big kids watched. If I was turning on WB, it was to watch Batman Beyond.
Hey, what do you got there, a rabbit?
It's a Pokemon.
A what?
God, they just don't make TV like this anymore.
Growing up, the impression many of us had was Buffy is the girl show while Supernatural was the boy show. Am I even allowed to say that anymore? Anyway, as a result, I ended up watching more of the Winchester brothers. At no point did I think it was the big kids show. I mean, if you were 8 and you weren't watching The Lord of the Rings, RoboCop, Starship Troopers, Alien, Predator, Evil Dead, Terminator, Rocky the Thing, Runaway Bride, The Rock, and GoldenEye, what were you even watching? I do agree with the second sentiment. The general standard of TV on offer today is largely mediocre, if not terrible.
I didn't really sit down and watch it all the way through until I was an adult. And when I did, I took my time. I know a lot of people who dropped the show in season 1 because season 1 is not the best. I legitimately believe there are only 2 good episodes in that whole season. The first one and the last one. If you're watching for the first time, this is my very accurate and professional season 1 viewing guide. You're welcome.
I would agree with this. Barring Welcome to the Hellmouth, The Harvest, Angel, and Prophecy Girl, which are story critical, the remainder of the episodes are less than stellar. Though despite this, aspects of the season are referenced in later episodes.
I cannot find anything anywhere about memory loss afterwards.
Did you tell them that?
Your secret dies with me.
To be taken over by those uncontrollable urges.
You said you didn't remember anything about that.
Paying homage to the show's foundations rather than treating them like Ralph Wiggum. Also, if you're watching Buffy and Angel for the first time, watch both shows together, warts and all. That way, by the time the story comes to an end, you have all the context rather than some of it.
Between seasons, I would take months off from the show to try and see what it felt like for a normal viewer to wait between seasons.
To each their own, I guess. Anecdotal and irrelevant to the alleged topic of the video.
I had no desire to make a video on this show. This was something for me and me alone. And as such, it made way for Buffy to end up on my list of favorite shows of all time, right next to Lost and Twin Peaks and Firefly. And despite my initial desire to never make a video on this show, I kinda do want to make a video on Buffy.
If I had a pound for every YouTuber that said he or she did not want to make a video. Anyway, it was very important for us to know he didn't want to make a video, but then did.
But I've had trouble doing that. I've resorted to talking about it in passing in other videos. My Buffy interlude during the Spider-Man Lotus video was met with extremely positive reactions.
Sure. Even I have had instances where I was unsure on how to tackle a particular project, and took a while to get through. But why is any of this relevant?
But in that segment, I never tell anybody to watch the show. While I could make an entire video on each of my favorite shows and explain why you should watch them, I struggle to do that with Buffy.
Wow, an entire video? Be still my beating heart. If they're anything like this video, most of it would be spent talking about everything other than the actual topic.
This is a show that I very rarely recommend to anybody. And not because the effects are dated and the dialogue is corny, it's solely because of one character. And that in itself is very strange to me, because I'm not one to hate characters very often, especially not in one of my favorite shows.
The complete opposite of me. I recommend Buffy and Angel at every opportunity. There are also many instances where I hate a character in a show I like. Joffrey and Sansa in the only 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. Love the Rising of the Shield hero, but hate Amber Heard in it. In Belarte, Miriel, a character I agree with in principle, but hate the way she behaves. Finally, dated effects and corny dialogue means nothing to me. If I find it good, I'm going to recommend it, regardless of its age.
See, a little while ago there was an article or something on the most hated TV show characters of all time. Voted by you. Yes, you, Brian. The list is mostly just well-written antagonists, but not even entirely, which makes me wonder what they meant by the word hated. Because to me, if the villain of the show is hated, that means they are well-written.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
To be generous, unless it is made abundantly clear, it can be difficult to know what someone else means by hated, because ultimately it is an emotional reaction. Then Cosmo brings up well-written characters, and if it is a villain and they are hated, they are well-written. Considering the list is about characters that are hated, A character does not need to be a villain to be hated. People hate all manner of characters for just as many different reasons, some being as simple as
sometimes you just don't like a person. There's no logical explanation, it just is.
Joffrey and Ramsay Bolton are at the top of the list because they're so deliciously detestable.
Are you telling me two characters that are easy to hate are in a list of characters that are hated? What wisdom will you impart next? That the sky is blue or water is wet?
But as I watched Game of Thrones, I never hated them. I like these characters because I enjoy seeing a villain that is well written.
It is difficult to pass through what he is trying to say here. It's almost like this is a first draft written without any planning whatsoever. Let's set things up here. Hate, like, and enjoy are emotional reactions. People hate, like, and enjoy a variety of things. Well written is a standard, good and bad. This is not an emotion, rather a conclusion arrived at after marinating on a set of information. There is some crossover, but they are not interchangeable. So again, what does Cosmo mean by hated?
That's just me though. I understand if you see their evil deeds and you feel hatred towards them, but for me, that just means the writer is doing their job. I can't hate that.
Based on what he is saying, and I am choosing to be generous because the alternative is quite worrying, he has taken hated to mean a reaction towards the writing quality of a character rather than the actions of a character, where the list is simply the most hated TV characters of all time without any stipulations. That all being said, I would love to know what his reaction was when Joffrey and the Lannisters had Lady executed in season 1 of Game of Thrones, or when Joffrey was doing less than gentlemanly things to Sansa. Cause if he likes him after all that, it's a bit worrying.
But then further down the list, we have characters who aren't even villains. They're just characters who might annoy the audience. We have Tony Soprano's mom, Skylar from Breaking Bad. Fucking Caillou is on the list. Tony's mom is no worse than the other murderers and abusers on the show. Skylar White literally didn't do anything wrong in all of Breaking Bad. Okay, she did smoke while pregnant, and that was pretty bad, but that's it.
I need to remind you, this is a video about Xander Harris from Buffy. 5 minutes into the video and we are yet to hear his name.
See, you may notice a theme with these characters. They're just annoying women who sometimes stand in the way of the male main character. The people who hate Joffrey hate him in a completely different way than they hate Skylar.
You can hate annoying women, you can hate annoying men, you can hate literally anyone for any reason. It's fine. No one, fictional or otherwise, is owed adoration.
If you hate Joffrey, that's very normal. You're supposed to do that. That's what the writer wants. If you hate Skylar, you're stupid.
I see that name calling is now on the table. Unlike Big Man Cosmo, I do not consider myself to be the arbiter of what is and is not allowed to be hated or liked. With such strong words being said, in 7,289 years when the video actually begins, he had best be accurate about what he is saying because the standard is set. If you hate the character for dumb reasons by his words,
you're stupid. And that's what inspired this video, because to me, none of these characters are ones that I would say I hate. That word doesn't make sense for them, but I do have one character I hate. And if it was up to me, he would be at the top of the list. A character so foul, so horrid, that he has kept me from recommending one of my favorite shows to you all. And his name is Xander Harris.
Anyway, we might finally be getting to the point. Let's just be clear about this. Joffrey and Ramsay are A-OK, liked even, because they are well written. Xander must be the cross between the devil and the Austrian painter, not to mention terribly written.
You want him? You come through me. I think about sex all the time. Naked girls, naked women, naked Buffy. Oh, stop me.
I'm 17. Looking at linoleum makes me want to have sex.
You know what? I'm sick of this crap. I'm sick of being the guy who eats insects and gets the funny syphilis. I'm finished being everybody's butt monkey.
Check. No more butt monkey.
Really?
This is like someone telling me they hate Chandler in Friends but likes Amber Heard in The Rising of the Shield Hero. It's fascinating in a way. Cosmo should be studied. for science.
Now, before we start, I should warn you guys. If you have any interest in watching this show, I'm gonna spoil a few things. I'm gonna try not to spoil anything major. I'm gonna avoid, like, character deaths and stuff like that. But anything related to Xander is fair game. I do think people should watch this show, and I am going to talk about my least favorite thing in it, so it might not be the best sales pitch. So watch the show. It's good. Come back here later if you want. I'll wait.
Did you really need 30 seconds to say spoilers for Buffy from this point onward?
I'm also not going to talk about any of the actors or their personal lives. You could make a whole separate video about that on its own. I am just here to talk about the characters and how they are written. But before we talk about all of that, we have to talk about Buffy and its inception a little bit.
As opposed to what he has been doing, which is talking about Buffy and its inception. Regardless, we have a standard by which this video is going to adhere to, which is good so things do not get muddled in between different topics, focusing solely on the characters and how they are written, in about 8,000 years' time.
You see, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a series born from one simple concept. Imagine the opening scene from your standard horror movie. A young blonde woman is walking down an alley at night when she's attacked by some sort of foul creature. But imagine if instead of being killed and never spoken of again, that girl beats the dog shit out of the monster. Because he wasn't on the hunt. She was. That's the premise that Buffy was born from. It's a pitch that is so simple and so effective. And it's a concept that was created by Joss Whedon.
This is almost verbatim what Whedon has said in interviews. Though what does Cosmo mean by the final statement? Is it praise towards the show where the concept is in itself simple and effective? That the concept is effective because it is simple? That, as it is simple and effective, it could only have come from Whedon? Or a combination of all three? Though while the initial concept of the show was simple, I don't think anyone who has seen Buffy would deny how the writing of the show would develop beyond this initial idea.
Now yes, Joss Whedon has received a lot of hate lately, and justifiably so. It's one thing to write a few bad movies, but abusing women is where me and most other people draw the line.
I suppose Cosmo is accurate when he said he is not going to talk about the actors' personal lives. Joss Whedon, as the creator of the show, I suppose, is fair game under that logic. Anyway, based on what is written on this very article, Whedon doesn't sound like an abuser or misogynist. He just sounds like an asshole, speaking to men and women like crap in many of his projects. Then again, the parameters of what is considered abuse towards women and misogyny are so abstract, it could cover everything from disagreeing with her to what Spike tries to do to Buffy in Seeing Red. Ultimately, Whedon is a male feminist. Cheating on his wife and screaming at women and men, what else is to be expected?
But lately, I've been morbidly fascinated with Whedon's work. I've been very interested in how his writing style has kind of shaped everything we watch now. People often refer to any snark or quippiness in a film or show as Whedon-esque, just because that's how it sounded in The Avengers. And most of the time when people call dialogue Whedon-esque, they aren't even being very accurate. In fact, what if I told you that you notice this style of writing more often because you've been hearing it for longer than you think?
There is a point here. Much of mainstream media today seem like the inbred mutants of what younger writers think is Whedon's style. Comedy above all else, regardless of the situation the characters are in, when in actuality, he had the awareness to know when to treat something earnestly.
Now, if you're the kind of person who says, I hate Joss Whedon and I will never consume any of his work, well, I hate to break it to you, but you probably already do. Because even before he hit the mainstream with Buffy, he was tossed around from studio to touch up scripts and make them punchier. He's written for things that would quite frankly shock you. Do you like Toy Story? Twister, Speed, Atlantis the Lost Empire, the X-Men movies. He's directed a few episodes of The Office, and there's probably more things that you love that he's touched and wasn't even credited for.
There are dozens of movies Carrie Fisher worked on over the course of her life. The Rock had Tarantino and Sorkin work on it. How credit is noted in Hollywood is an issue, as a lot of good work is left unnoticed due to the current rules.
While most people can agree he's a shitty person, it's hard to navigate the world of modern media without encountering something he's worked on.
What's Mole's story?
Trust me on this one. You don't want to know. Audrey, don't tell him. You shouldn't have told me, but you did. And now I'm telling you, you don't want to know.
Honestly, tell me that that line delivery is not something that you would see in an Avengers movie right now.
I can understand the sentiment. Many Marvel characters sound and behave the same to the point they could be interchangeable and nothing of the story would change. Though that is what makes Whedon so impressive from a writing standpoint. He was able to make the characters endearing and fun without sacrificing their core personalities and behavior.
And through a weird sequence of events, we're now kind of stuck with that style of writing. It's no exaggeration to say that the writing of Buffy has eventually gone on to inspire the way 90% of movies and shows are written today. But of course, I'm not saying you have to worship the guy. I'm just bringing something up that I think is interesting.
The entertainment industry often tries to mimic success. When a particular genre pops, everyone tries to replicate it so they can make money, such as cinematic universes. People like Whedon-style dialogue, so it is replicated without an understanding of why it is so good and why it appeals to audiences, leaving the imitations cheap and superficial. Just to remind you, this is a video about why Xander is the worst TV character in history.
There are 144 episodes of Buffy. Only 25 of those were written or directed solely by Joss Whedon. As is the case with many TV or film productions, one person usually isn't running the show. With a production this massive, I have trouble writing this entire thing off because of one shithead.
This is the media industry we're talking about. It's rare to find anyone who's squeaky clean. Ultimately, what are the lines? And how severe should the punishments be? Personally, I don't know. I've heard arguments from all directions and the only conclusion I've come to is, to each their own.
Because an army of talented and possibly non-shitty people also contributed to what makes the show great. And despite this, I still have trouble recommending Buffy to people.
I've noticed Cosmo likes to repeat himself and I don't think he realizes he is doing it. Redrafting is a wonderful thing. These minor issues are revealed and the writer has the ability to fix it before recording the video.
Which is weird because I would in a heartbeat recommend Firefly to anybody, a show that's also created by Whedon with all of his writing style intact. But the difference with Buffy is that it has something all of Whedon's projects do not possess.
There is more substance to be found in a 3-minute long every frame a painting video than the 11 minutes we just went through.
A character that Joss Whedon has admitted is his self-insert. A character that is meant to represent Joss Whedon. A force that serves as a constant reminder that even if Joss Whedon isn't on set, even if he's not directing it, even if he's not writing the episode, he is always watching. And that character is Xander.
As far as who I relate to, Xander was obviously based on me, the sort of guy that all the girls want to be best friends with.
Just because a character is based on someone and is who Whedon relates to most, does not mean it is a one-to-one translation of the two. Based on what happens to Xander over the course of the show, if it is a literal one-to-one, Whedon must really hate himself.